So I am so excited to introduce two women that I've been close with, since they probably started their first agency, Social Fly, together as just the co-founding team. Stephanie Carton and Courtney Spritzer, my very good friends and long-term collaborators of Entreprenista and Social Fly.
Hi, everyone. We are thrilled to be here with everyone today. Again, I'm Stephanie Carton, and this is Courtney Spritzer, my co-founder of both Entreprenista and Social Fly. We are here with our live recording of our Web3 with MCG podcast, and I wanted to share a little bit about our Entreprenista community before we dive into this exciting conversation. Entreprenista is a community for women founders and leaders, and we are dedicated to helping these women have all of the business tools, resources, community, and connection needed to launch, grow, and scale their businesses. And we have a lot of our members here. And for anyone here in the audience today, if you are a women entrepreneur and you are looking for community and connection and resources, please come and find us here today. And we'd love to invite you into our community.
Entreprenista is also a media company, and we launched Entreprenista originally as a podcast. It was called the Entreprenista Podcast, and it still is a podcast that exists today. And earlier this year, we launched our Entreprenista Podcast Network and launched 2 more shows. Our latest show is in partnership with Michelle Cordero Grant, who is a seasoned entreprenista. She sold her first company, Lively, for over $100 million, and now she's on to her next venture. So I'm so excited to have Michelle on stage doing a live podcast recording of Web3 with MCG, and she is joined by Shannon Snow, who is the COO of World of Women, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with.
Welcome, everyone. Hello, Miami. This is our second live podcast of Web3 with MCG, and I couldn't be more thrilled to be here. I am a little starstruck by our guest today, Shannon Snow, here from World of Women. You know, I created this podcast because, honestly, I was here a year ago, and I did not know anything about Web3. I'm like, I'll learn about that later. I don't have time for this. I'm building brands, and I guess we call it Web 2. And then all of a sudden I woke up in February, I was like, well, shit, that's like my whole career has been all about not running away from the things I'm afraid of, but running towards. And so I went to Staples and I got a whiteboard and I got Post-its and I told my husband, don't talk to me for at least 8 to 16 hours. And I came out with pencils in my hair and a digital wallet and my favorite NFTs. And I just got sucked into the space. And what I found was the most approachable, the most inclusive, the most exciting, forward-thinking space that ever existed. And frankly, I needed it. I build brands, that's what I do, and I was so bored with how we marketed brands. I'm like, if I do one more post on social media and put a ton of money behind it that is not doing anything for me, I don't know what to do with myself. And so when I discovered communities, I call NFTs brands with benefits, I was like, this is where it's at. And so having Shannon here today is probably one of the greatest honors I've had in this podcast. Shannon Snow, how do you introduce yourself?
Oh, well, one, it's so inspiring to be here and learn about your journey and drink Gorgie, which I'm so pumped about.
Delicious.
I'm Shannon Snow. I am the COO of World of Women. Like you, I've had a career that's been long in tech, and so I came into Web3 very organically, thinking about the next generation of technology. How do I keep learning? How do I keep improving myself? So like many of us, I think taking the stance of following what we're passionate about, keeping learning, and doing as best we can to follow the new technology for where it can take us.
I love it. I love it. We're going to get into a lot about World of Women, but first, when you leave a company like Meta, I left a company like Victoria's Secret to start something that didn't exist, and you're working on something that is on the forefront of what, every consumer, in my opinion, will be a part of. Personally, how did you make that choice?
It's super interesting because I feel like a lot of people were like, whoa, like you're making this huge career leap, right? And I think people see big company names, that you're at, and they think, oh, there's some bigness of the brand, right? And they think of it as a big jump. But for me, when I got into tech, I started my career at Google and then was working at Meta when I left to go to World of Women. Google wasn't that big when I started. And so I really just grew with the company. Obviously it went on a historic run and always had the opportunity to build businesses, to learn. And so I always had that startup mindset. And I never really thought of my career as big tech. It kind of became big tech around me. And so I was always iterating, always learning. And my last job, which was at Meta, was leading the entertainment division. We were working a lot with companies like Disney and the NBA and big media firms on how they should be thinking about their marketing, but also how they should be thinking about it in the metaverse. And so I became completely fascinated in the metaverse, Web3, this next generation of technology like you that, was very undefined, that everything was moving really quickly. There was this opportunity to learn. And so it just seemed like a natural next step in the same way that, you're always thinking about what's the next frontier where I can learn the most. I was extremely inspired by World of Women's mission, but also saw like, hey, this is a place where I can learn, I can do good, I can feel alive, and hopefully, inspire the next generation of girls to enter Web3, which is a huge part of our mission as well.
I love it. I mean, if you are, familiar with World of Women, I feel like they do such an incredible job of getting people to mint, to join. I mean, I think you guys did an incredible activation this week. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we are extremely grateful to partner with the Sandbox. They did a $25 million grant to World of Women to help women and girls get into the metaverse. So they're great partners with us, and part of the work that we're doing together is to give tools to women and girls to empower them to future-proof their career for the next generation of technology. We did an event called Let's Mint, which is helping 300 girls around the world learn how to create and mint their first NFT. And that program occurred both physical and digital, and we're really hoping to scale it. Our goal is to continue to invest in programs like this and hopefully touch the lives of 50,000 girls next year.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. I want to talk a little bit about the gala last night. Also, that word is epic. There was a gala here last night. Why a gala? Why do NFTs have galas? Like, what is it that an NFT is supposed to do for its community, for its holders, et cetera? For the people in the Web2 space, like, why do these things exist, these events, et cetera? Like, what is that moment about?
Yeah, so to take a step back for anyone who may not be familiar, World of Women is a community and collection that is really focused on building an inclusive future. It's all about having women, diverse people feel represented in Web3 and in technology, because if we aren't represented, how can we impact the future?
Amen.
And so having a community like that is really bound by our mission, I think that ultimately, as we've seen different generations of technology, it's enabled us to find our tribe and find our people who help us be our best self. Like, I don't know if you remember the feeling of getting on the web for the first time, going into a chat room and be like, oh, there's people that are interested in things that I really care about that maybe I wouldn't know about the people that are around me physically. And we're a global community. And so we have people who come to our events or buy a WOW and then meet people. And they're really finding their tribe of people who are inspired by the mission and want to do good in the world. And so even though we have a lot of online tools, I think they're not perfect for connecting. And so it is really good to have these moments where we come together in celebration of our mission. That was one of the things that we wanted to do with the gala as well. World of Women has a great history of hosting iconic events. The team was super proud and honored to host an event with Madonna for NFT NYC in June. I will say that set expectations extremely high for the World of Women Gala. How do you follow up Madonna? But when we reflected on it, we thought, hey, being part of this community isn't just looking up to, notable female holders, even though I think that is a super inspiring reason to see, I'm in a community with Madonna, with Reese Witherspoon, with Eva Longoria. But ultimately, it's about the community that you're in. And we wanted to honor the community with community awards at the gala to showcase, hey, it's not just about people who you already are inspired by. It's the community that you are surrounded with and the amazing things that you're doing to be that next generation of inspirational people.
Absolutely. I mean, from Madonna to a gala with a gorgeous woman in a beach ball floating down the pool, gorgeous women on stilts. I've never seen booties that high above me before. It was an incredible event. But what should people expect from very successful platforms like World of Women now, right? So World of Women started in, I think, July of 2021, has had incredible momentum. And now, has the expectation changed for holders and for communities? Like, what do they expect from the community?
We've actually gone through a whole process of talking with our holders because so much has changed about the market from when World of Women launched, and now we have some founders here with us today. And it started as four friends with this inclusive vision, right? And now it's touched the lives of so many people around the world, but the market's changed, right? Crypto was very hot. We're now in more of a bear market. And so even though the expectations might not have changed, the environment and what people are feeling about the future of the tech, obviously, you mentioned FTX. It's such a tough time for many in our industry. So we really wanted to re-anchor to what does our community want right now. And over again, every community member that we interviewed said, I bought World of Women because I believe in the mission and I want to connect with other inspiring people that can help me continue to improve, whether it's meeting mission-aligned people, finding people who can support their business, making us really feel that we have to focus on things that serve the community, like events, like tools to connect, and other ways to kind of get creative in terms of how we gather in support of art and technology.
I love that. I mean, leading a community in a time like now, right? It's a bear market, right? And so we've all had and seen markets, whether it's the New York Stock Exchange or public companies, weather incredible storms, right? I joined Victoria's Secret; their stock was $8.60. When I left, it was $65. And we've seen like how things can really change, but it has to be done with integrity and creativity, et cetera. What do you see ahead for World of Women?
Just a period of innovation. We've gone through a lot of reflection in terms of where we can have the most focus. And over again, we're a project that brings people into Web3, right? So many people have said that they got into Web3 and NFTs because they were inspired by World of Women's mission and the art, which is so incredible. So we're really trying to make good on that. We're focusing on continuing to license our brand so that we can be seen in the world outside of Web3 and help with some of this mass adoption, whether it's pursuing TV and film deals or just working with physical goods. We really want to break out of just the Web3 niche. We want to focus on education with our foundation and partnering with the Sandbox to ensure we're doing as much education with programs like Let's Mint so we can bring more girls and women into the pipeline. And then focusing on our community and giving more tools for them to connect. We are relaunching what used to be called Art Drops and now is called Art Fest, which is going to be a quarterly celebration of art where our community can come together. It will be all around the full moon, an experience where our community can come in, celebrate art together, maybe get some new art for their collection, but also come together in that spirit.
I love it. I love it. I think we've talked a lot about the benefits of the space, where we see the space going. Now, what is the hardest part of what you do? You, Shannon, what is the hardest part of what you do and what the community has to do right now? What keeps you up at night?
I think it really is the expectations game. The great thing about having a community is that you have a mission-aligned community and you can work together. I think the tough part is everyone has a different idea about where the community should go. Everyone has their good days and their bad days. And I think you really feel accountable of like, how do I make this experience great for everyone? But it's always on, right? Discord never turns off. Twitter never turns off. There's always a community member that will have positive feedback, but there's also a community member that will have a tough day. And I think that taking that and making it into an experience where we can build together with the community, it's tough work, right? But that's what makes it really rewarding. And obviously the goals that we've set aside for ourselves in terms of making real change, in terms of representation and diversity, it's big. It doesn't happen on a 30-minute Twitter cycle. This is generational work. And resetting the expectation that, hey, we're working on it, but it may take longer than a merch drop or, a splashy new partnership. That piece is energizing, but can be really tough.
A question that's really important to me is women in the space. I left big retail because I was seeing how women were becoming leaders in this space, and it was awesome. But we weren't owners. I was like, okay, we figured out how to get C-suite roles, but like, this sweet man owns the company. He's the billionaire, and we're like running the C-suite, right? And so I think we've seen a lot of female founders come to fruition, create incredible companies, sell them for millions of dollars, et cetera. But we still have a lot of work to do in becoming owners, right? And I would love to know your perspective of female owners in the Web3 space. And frankly, there was a statistic that I saw about representation of women in the space being, less than 20% when I got my whiteboard and Post-its, right? So how do you think about that now and the importance of women and women's seats in the space?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the founding facts when the World of Women founders created World of Women. Only 5% of art sales were going to women, even though there was so much interest in the space. To have only 5% of art sales going to female artists, it's just unconscionable, right? Especially in a space where there are in the world equal or potentially more women artists than men. So we're really focused on empowerment. One of the things that we're really proud of is the IP rights that we give to World of Women holders. When you buy your WOW, you own the IP. You can use it to start a business like Cyber Green Juice, which is an amazing product that one of our holders has started. Others have created incredible stories and other media companies sort of based on their WOWs. And that's something we really want to encourage, that, hey, you're buying something that's a digital asset, but it's also an asset that you may be able to use to start a project or a business or contribute to more ownership and more creativity in the space.
Love that. If you had to explain the importance of Web3 and how it's going to impact humans. I have 2 children. How is it going to impact my children? What are Lydia and Jack going to be doing that are 8 and 5 years old based on what this space is doing and transitioning and impacting the world? What do you see in the future?
Well, how I always talk about it to my nephews who are in, that 12-year-old range, they probably in some ways know more about technology than I do. But, things that for them, right, they spend so much time in Roblox. They spend so much of their lives in digital spaces. And I think that they will grow up thinking, how wild is it that I can't buy something in Roblox and take it to another game, right? This idea of I spend so much of my life digitally, but I don't own my digital assets now in a lot of the experiences I'm in. And so I think thinking through in the future, we really will be able to own those assets and really have ownership about a big part of our lives, which is digital. So I see it as ownership as well as just the next generation of technology and opportunity for them.
I love it. And then I'm a very utopian thinker. When I started Lively, I said, yeah, we make bras, but tomorrow we can make concert tickets. We had a concert in the Crosby Hotel just for the hell of it because I said we could do that. If there's something so magical, so out there that you would want to see from World of Women, and forget the barriers of how it would happen, what would that dream, vision, moment feel like?
I just got emotional because I think it would be solving the female leadership and the female gap in tech. I think for me, being in Silicon Valley for so many years, you just see how tough it is. You see so many talented people who exit careers because it's just too tough. The environment is too tough. There's not enough women to really feel like you can really succeed. And it's just a struggle every day. You have to work that much harder just for the same table. I think to look back 50 years from now and say, hey, Web3 is more equal because of the work that World of Women did, then we'll know that we've had an impact.
Wow. I have chills. I'm going to close with my favorite question, and I do a founder chat every week with different female leaders, and my closing question always is, what is one mantra, one piece of advice that you're living with today that you've either been given or you are passionate about giving?
Do one thing every day that brings you joy. I think that there's always days that are tough, especially growing a business in Web3, which can be extremely exhausting. We talk a lot within WOW about what's the one thing that keeps you grounded? What's the one thing that brings you joy, that you got control over, that you can do? Doing that every day makes everything easier, even when you're solving some of the big challenges that we're working on.
I love it. Shannon Snow, everyone. World of Women. Thank you, Unrevealed. Thank you, Entreprenistas. Drink orgy if you're tired or thirsty or just want something delicious.